Welcome to episode 9 of the Unvarnished Edit, where two friends talk about what it's actually like to live an adversity filled life. Be prepared to laugh, possibly cry, and swear along with us. This is Angie, and in today's episode, we discuss the concept of forgiveness and what that means to us. We hope you enjoy.
Hello,
How are
hello.
you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I will say, I think our last two episodes have been I have a little bit of a long-term vulnerability hangover.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, but
Yeah.
that's okay. We persevere. This is what we're here to do. I got the best compliment this weekend or at the end of last week. My daughter had to get some blood drawn, nothing major, just normal stuff, but she had never had blood drawn before. And so I had prepped her really well for it, and she knew exactly what was going to happen. And we got there, and the phlebotomist was so cool. And I said, okay, this is what she knows. This is what we've agreed on. She doesn't want to know when you're going to do it. She just knows when you release the rubber band, we're almost done, right? And
Yeah.
so we're there, and she's sitting here and the phlebotomist is over here. So I turn her head this way and I'm showing her reels, and we're watching funny stories, and she's starting to make faces, and I can see that it's not going well in the arm. There's no blood coming out, and I can see her
Yeah.
kind of moving around trying to find it. And my daughter can definitely tell this needle is moving around in my arm. And so after a couple, what felt like minutes, but was probably 30 seconds, she popped the rubber band off and said, I can't get it. I haven't gotten it. And she, I mean, my daughter, I think she looked, or I don't know what she did, but I mean, her face, all of the color drained out of her face, and she passed out. She was out. I mean, when I say she was out, it was like sack of potatoes, man. She just and we didn't get a chance to put her head forward. She just was like this. And I work great in a crisis. I am so calm in a crisis because that's called, in my world, being alive. And
Yeah.
so it was easy. I was like, okay, I'm telling the nurse what to do. I'm like, you go get some cold water. I'll get her positioned. I'm manipulating her, and I'm rubbing her back, and I'm like, good morning, wake up. Your mom's right
Yeah.
here. And nurses are popping in to check on us, and everything. I'm fine. I'm not concerned about this, whatever. If someone's going to
Right.
pass out, we're in a medical facility. We're fine. Yeah.
Yes.
So she starts to come to, and she's embarrassed. I can tell she's embarrassed. And I'm like, it's
No.
okay. You can cry. It's just me and you. And the nurse hadn't come in yet, but I guess she was listening on the other side of the door, and she didn't want to come in yet because she heard me say, it's just me and you. Nobody else can see you. This happens all of the time. I've passed out. I've cried before. Everybody has. I'm trying to normalize this for her. And so she kind of gets
Yeah.
a little, and then we're okay, right? So we come
Yeah.
back, and I'm fanning her. And so the nurse, she comes back in, and we reschedule the appointment. I said, ain't no way today, man. And as we were leaving, she stopped me and she said, this is how a parent should be in these situations. Thank you so
Oh,
much. You being calm helped me do my job. Oftentimes, parents just completely panic, and it makes it so much worse. And she was like, you handled this textbook perfect. Thank you so much. And I was like, that's right. I'm a star. But the reality of it was, sister, this ain't nothing. I've seen
oh,
way
right.
worse than this.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, the reason I'm able to do this is because I've experienced so many other things that
So much
were
worse.
truly an issue. That
I'm like,
this is okay,
this is
so he passed.
easy. Right?
Of course
I
my
mean,
kid passed. Of
duh.
course. Of
I know.
course my kid passed.
I know. But now we got to go back. I'm dreading it. We have to go
Oh,
back. I know. And she's got to get it done. And so, but I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just bring some orange juice and an ice pack with me. I know what's going to happen now. Hopefully
yeah.
they can just get it done next time, but I'll be more prepared. I'll have some orange juice and something for her neck. And then they'll think
And
I'm even better.
make sure she hydrates 24 hours beforehand because
Yeah,
that's
that's
part of
probably a
it
big part of it
too,
is the
is
water.
not having enough. She wasn't hydrated enough.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that kid was out for
Or
a good minute, at least a minute. I mean, she was out. I was pretty impressed.
So
So,
crazy.
yeah, that
What
was
a
my latest parenting adventure. And then it's almost the end of the school year. This
yeah.
is the end of my elementary school career as a parent. I cannot wait. And so I take her to school and I'm checking her in. We went and got a donut and a boba and, trying to make her feel better. And so we get to the school and there's obviously something going on at school because there's like tables set up everywhere. And she's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's 10:20 in the morning. And she says, "Oh yeah, the art walk is today. You're supposed to come eat lunch with me today." And I was
No.
like,
No, little
"Oh."
one.
And I was like, "Oh." And she said, "You don't have to." And I said, "No, no,
Yes,
no.
you do.
Do you want me to?" She said, "You don't have to." And I said, "That's not what I asked you. I asked you if you want me to." And she kind of like, she's like, "Can you at least bring me lunch? Everyone else, their parents are bringing them lunch." And I was
Yeah.
like, "All right." So we go in the office, and I have to say to the lady at the front desk, "What time am I supposed to be back for this art walk?" And she looks at me like I'm an idiot. And like I said, "I just found out about it. Okay. Can you just tell me when it is?" And she said, "Sixth grade should be here at 11:40." I'm like, "I live 20 minutes away. It's
Oh,
10:20. I have to go all the way home because I am not dressed. I don't have anything that I want the other moms to see me in right now. So I have to go all the way home and get changed. And then I have to go find lunch. And then I came home. I said, 'Hey, babe, I gotta go get lunch. Bye, babe.'" I left. I was so
mhm.
irritated.
It's the
Ugh.
ups and downs of parenting.
It's almost done.
It's almost done.
Not the
Yes.
parenting, just the
No, no,
elementary
no,
school.
no, just
Yeah.
the performance parenting.
Yeah,
The
elementary
the
school is
public
so much
the
work.
public performance parenting, which really only happens in elementary
Oh,
school.
it's so much work. It's so much work. So,
So,
yeah, being at the end of elementary school, and it's like, I'm sure it's in an email. I'm sure I missed a communication. I am positive that if I opened my inbox, the art walk was right there. And it's just
yeah,
like that moment of like, I suck at this.
yeah,
I really, and me just standing there for her to like have that body language of like, you don't have to, because she knows
yeah,
I don't want to do this. And
yeah.
also, she deserves to have a parent. It's not like I had to get to work. I didn't have anything I had to do. I had the time. And the system is not set up for us to be able to do this easily. So I always feel so bad for parents that don't have the same kind of flexibility. It's not fair. But it
Mhm.
was like, what is my
Yeah,
problem right now? Go get the lunch, come back and have the last spring picnic with your daughter who clearly wants you to be there, right? So I was just like, okay, fine. I'm going.
I get that, and honestly, this kind of segues real good into our topic for the day because, I mean, we've said before, like, we have the adult kids, and then we have the one that's still minors, and
Yeah.
their experiences of childhood are so different. And I have had to do I first of all, I feel absolutely horrible,
Hmm.
absolutely horrible that my youngest does not get to experience the same kind of parent that my older kids. Now, granted, he has better pieces of a parent, right? I'm way healthier emotionally, way more stable, and all of those pieces. But I did a lot of things for my older kids in school, and we took more vacations, and we did more things. He had siblings that were all together at one time where he doesn't have, and um I've had to I've had to do kind of a lot of work around that and just forgiving myself, one, for just not being in the same place, right, that I was before. Honestly, he doesn't know any different, and he loves the mom that I am.
Yeah.
I'm the one who has
I'm
the
the one.
issue. Right? Like, I'm the one who has the issue with that. And so I've had to do a kind of a lot of work, and I don't like the topic of forgiveness. you've mentioned we need to talk about forgiveness, and I'm like, do we? Because I
Do we?
have most people say love-hate relationship. I don't. I literally have a hate relationship
Yeah. Yeah.
with the word. And I think
Yes.
because it has been so weaponized and has been the entryway to additional abuse,
Absolutely.
that I have a really hard time with this word.
Yeah. This topic is actually coming to us today because of a listener request, because we've talked about it, but neither one of us have any. And I think sometimes the obstacle is the way, right? That's a book on Stoicism. It's a saying from Stoicism. I bring it into my life a lot. The thing that I am avoiding the most is the thing I have to do. And so when I was in conversation with someone that listens to the podcast, and she gave me a list of topics, and I was like, yeah, we really do need to talk about forgiveness because it's a huge part of being able to move forward. And also, I think, like you said, it gets weaponized. And so for me, I think the importance in having the conversation is to highlight some of the ways in which it has been used against us in the past so that maybe other people can be more aware of like what actually is forgiveness, because I think the definition of it is where it gets abused. Is what I have come to understand forgiveness is very rarely what I've been asked to give in the past,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing for forgiveness for me is there are things that are absolutely unforgivable. And I
Mhm.
think the weaponization of it, even in like society and self help and all of those pieces, is like, you need to just forgive. And no,
No, I don't.
there, there are things that are absolutely unforgivable. And
Mhm.
I will go to my grave not giving forgiveness, and I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And it does not eat me up. And
Yeah.
in those situations, I forgive myself for letting it take up too much space in my life and letting it take up too much space in my head.
Yeah. So I think you will like my definition of forgiveness.
I'm all yours.
I heard it on a podcast while I was in prison, and this was probably the most pivotal part for me. Was I heard this and everything changed. And I
Yeah,
was able to let go of so much. Are you ready?
I am.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope of having a better past.
I'm
I've
good
done
with that.
that. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's all. And that doesn't involve giving it to someone else. It is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, a completely internal job.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is not something that I can bundle up and give to someone else.
Yeah.
I can give repair, and this is where I think people mess up.
Mhm.
They conflate repair in a relationship with forgiveness.
Yeah.
I owe people repair in many situations. And that means being accountable for what I've done wrong, changing my behavior, and working through that with them.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is totally different than that.
Yeah.
Totally different. And forgiveness without accountability and forgiveness without boundaries is abuse.
Let's repeat that again. No, seriously.
Really,
Forgiveness without
accountability and
okay.
forgiveness without boundaries is abuse.
Forgiveness without boundaries and forgiveness without accountability is abuse.
And I have been
For
subjected
ourselves
to
and
that.
for
I have been subjected to
yes.
that so much in my life. And I think that's why I don't want to talk about this, because so much anger comes up. Of the amount of times that I've been asked to forgive and forget, and I did it, and then I got
Yeah.
hurt again.
Yeah.
And I think some of this comes from coming out of a high control religion where forgiveness is a very important part of it, but
Yes.
accountability was never, and changed behavior was never. Ever.
Never.
It was never requested. It
Right.
was forgive
Right.
this person for what they did, or you're a sinner. And it's like, but what about what they did? And what about being held accountable for that? And what about
Yes.
make a different choice next time? But it was
Yes.
just always the burden was on the injured party. Always.
The burden has always been on the injured party. Like,
Yes.
so many times, my husband and I will have the conversation of why is it, honestly, the victim's responsibility for healing, for, being the better person, for forgiveness, for all of those pieces. We're the injured party. Why is that our responsibility as well? And I think that is that piece of the forgiveness conversation that I'm like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I
And I
really
think
don't.
I don't either. And I
Yeah.
think this can get really, really tricky. It requires so much nuance to have a really good
Mhm.
conversation about forgiveness. And, earlier you and I were talking about something that happened in my life recently where I behaved badly. I didn't behave right.
Yeah.
And I don't need the other person to forgive me.
Right.
What I need is to, first of all, own up to the fact that I did not live up to my own standards. I appreciate the people that actually pointed it out to me. I apologized and I am making changes. I am recreating a structure so that I do not find myself in that situation again because now I know something there activated me and I have to take responsibility for behaving poorly. All
Yeah.
of that work is so important as the person that did the thing. None of it involves her forgiving me. I
Right.
do not require it. If she wants
Right.
to, that's fantastic. If she doesn't want to, I accept that also.
Yeah.
I am doing the work to not be in that spot again because I did not live up to my standard.
Yeah.
There are things you have to do in the forgiveness circle,
Yeah.
but I don't think it belongs to anyone other than ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of, how it is in relationship, like in the conversation of repair in relationship, right? Like I think forgiveness has been weaponized so much, and yes, in lots of different arenas, right? But it really honestly has been weaponized so much. I think that's why this conversation is so hard for so many people. But I'm thinking about, like, in the relationship with my husband, right? Like when we talked about our relationship a couple of podcasts ago, and we were having the conversation of what's a healthy relationship and how it is active repair when we harm, and where does forgiveness play a part in that? Because honestly, like for me, there is a piece to it of me forgiving myself, one, for harming, because at some point, right? But when I've harmed him, like him being able to say, like, I get it, and I forgive you for that happening. That's a powerful piece, though, too, for some people. And but it does all come down to that accountability, doesn't it? That
It
it's not
does.
some.
And I I wonder in that situation, let's say, where you've done something that requires repair, right? You've hurt his feelings and I did this. I didn't mean to. I want to fix it. I'm going to change my behavior. The When he comes back and says, I forgive you for that. I don't I think that's important to hear sometimes. I also don't think, and I don't mean this in a Todd sense, I mean this in a general
Yeah.
sense. I don't
Yeah.
think that's worth a lot. Your actual forgiveness is us moving on together and not holding on to this. I
Yeah.
don't find the words to be
Yeah.
that useful.
Yeah.
I
No, no,
for
no. Honestly, yeah.
It's
Because I
the
was just.
actions. It's the
Yes, because then
actions.
the thoughts after this, you are right, it is the actions. Because without those pieces, everything is hollow that is
Yeah.
being, you know what I mean, that is being
And
said.
he could forgive you and choose not to move forward in relation with you. Like
Mhm.
forgiveness isn't a pass,
Right, right,
right?
right, right.
Because let's just pretend for, right? Because we're having this example that you just keep doing this thing over and over again and he's decided, I'm going to give up the hope of this past being better. So I'm going to let it go and in that sense forgive you, but I'm doing something different now. So it's kind of like we look at forgiveness as like this magical thing that when it's said, everything's fine. And it is not if there's no
Oh,
action associated with it.
yeah. And I
So,
think that's my biggest issue to it is like you want me to forgive people, one,
mhm,
whose actions have never changed, whose actions continually to do harm, but I'm going to forgive them for things that have happened. To,
for
why?
what?
Like,
For
why
what?
am I doing it? Because that's what makes me a good person is to give a pass to abusive behavior. Well, they say, right, that it lets go of the hold and the power and the space. You can do that without forgiveness. You can do that without
Yeah,
forgiveness.
you can. And, you know, to think of it in terms of it's just giving up the hope of having a better past. Like for me, at the moment that I felt that and took that in, I was giving myself permission to stop reliving all of the times I could have done something differently or made a different choice. What's done
Yes.
is done. I'm holding this
Yes.
bucket of shit, and that is not going to change. I cannot redo these decisions. I have
Yeah.
got to drop it because I am now the obstacle because I can't stop saying I'm sorry for what I did. It's holding
Yeah.
me back. When every conversation, I am so ashamed and guilty that all I'm saying is, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, right? And I'm referencing me being in prison and reading this quote the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
Once I stopped trying to get other people to forgive me
Yeah.
and started putting action into fixing the parts of me that made me in that situation in the first place, everything changed. I didn't even have
Yeah.
to ask for forgiveness anymore. The forgiveness comes in the rebuilt relationship. The forgiveness comes in they now trust me to show up and be honest and tell the truth, right? Because I've done it. I have shown them that I am not going to hide anything from you again, right? With my in reference to my kids or right or I'm going to forgive myself because now I have this rule of if I start not telling people information and start isolating myself, something's going wrong and the only way I can make that right in myself is to go tell someone. So I don't need forgiveness anymore.
Right.
I just need to
Right.
behave in accordance with my standards and fix it
Yeah.
if I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your statement. Forgiveness is in the rebuilt relationship.
Mhm.
It comes with, right?
Yeah. I get so like I'm so like amped up talking about forgiveness because it has been used against me so often. And the amount of times I've been asked to forgive someone and forget and move on, and then they've come back and done the exact same thing to me, and I didn't even know it. And I felt like I was the person at fault, you
The
know?
amount of times I have harmed myself by forgiving someone else.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
abandoned myself on behalf of making someone else feel forgiven.
Routinely. Yes.
It's like,
Abandoned.
let me
Mhm.
collect all this discomfort that you can't handle, and I will hold it and tell you to forgive me. What? Like, that's so bonkers to me now.
Yeah.
And the times that I have refused to do it, the people that that has impacted, it has made them so angry with me.
Yeah.
And I've been
The
called
amount of
stubborn and obstinate.
I
And
would forgive you. Why can't you forgive me? Mm, honestly, because you wouldn't have.
I would never do this.
And two, yes.
That doesn't mean I'm a
That,
saint. I do my own things, right?
yeah.
Your
Yes.
thing that you're doing is not my thing. So we can't
Mhm.
flip this around in an equal conversation. We
Mhm.
can't do that because I might do other things,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't do this thing. So
Yeah.
there is no equivalent here. These are false equivalents.
Yeah. Yeah. I have had to, though, in this forgiveness conversation, forgive myself for a lot of things. And you're right. It is just understanding, like, having having no hope that the past is going to be any different than it was. And there has been a absolute pure physical piece to all of that, of getting to that I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Without the shame, without the guilt, without any of those pieces. Because there have been so many times that, in past, especially with my children, almost everything is with my children. And that's not a bad thing. They've taught me a lot about life and relationships, and
Yeah.
they're also different, and they all needed something different from me. They also got a different time of life from me, each one of them, right? And there have been a lot of times that I've just absolutely failed and completely messed up in those spaces. And that conversation of, and we did the best that we could with the tools that we had at the time. And we're not going to be perfect in any of this. And having it be okay with it. Again, the conversation still comes back to, because there was changed behaviors and because there's accountability in that piece to it.
Often when I'm being really hard on myself for making a mistake, I
Mhm.
often have to ask myself, am I allowed to make mistakes? Am
Mhm.
I allowed to not be perfect? Because I can really quickly get into the mindset of, if someone calls me out, I can easily say, well, you just expect me to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the moment those words come out of my mouth, I'm like, oop, I have a problem. I'm the
Mhm.
one. It's me. I'm sorry. I don't have to be perfect. I'm allowed to make mistakes. And it changes the conversation, right? That shifts the conversation into where it should be, where it ought to be, into taking accountability for behavior. I am allowed to make mistakes as a parent, as a wife, as a friend, and really leaning into that and accepting that, to me, has been the first step to forgiving myself. Is really ingraining into me, to be human is to a human experience is one in which we make mistakes.
Yeah.
This is how I learn, and how I
Yeah.
pivot from this mistake is the way that people around me learn as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of how seemingly easy it is for my kiddos to, quote unquote, forgive me, right? Like, there's been legit harm done. Thinking one specific time in general, only because it was so quick, and it was with Caden. And I mean, I was hinged, absolutely unhinged. I had that girl like talking to her up against a wall, and the whole thing was just absolutely unhinged. And we literally get in the car maybe 20 minutes later, and I said, I am sorry. That was a total dick move. Like, I am so sorry. And she's like, "Yeah, you were, mom, a total asshole." And, and I was like, "I know. Like, I am so, so sorry." But how it always comes with like changed behavior. And so what do we say to those people who are like, "I just really can't move forward unless you forgive me." What does that response look like? How do we change the conversation? How do we flip the conversation?
That's a really good question. I think I'm thinking of a couple really specific circumstances where I'm like, okay, if that person right now came to me and said, I need you to forgive me, I think the first question I would ask is, for what?
Yes.
Can we understand
Yes.
what wrongs each of us are seeing? Right. So I,
Mhm.
I think that would be
Mhm.
the first thing I would ask is, what exactly is it are you asking for forgiveness for? And I think if we could get clear on that, I would probably say, you know, I can move on from this. Our relationship is not, if it's a big thing, I'm talking about a big thing here, right?
Mhm.
Our
Mhm.
relationship isn't the same, and these are my boundaries.
Mhm.
And if we could stick to these boundaries and we can start to have some sort of in between with us where it's going well and you're respecting my boundaries and I'm respecting yours, We could see what happens. I can move past it if that's what forgiveness is. I mean, I guess, what do you want to be forgiven for and what does forgiveness mean to you? What would that
Yeah,
look like?
exactly. Yeah,
What would that
that
look
would be
like?
yes, that was gonna be my question
Yeah. What does that
is
even mean?
for what? And what does that look like to you?
Yeah. What would be
Because
different right now?
if it doesn't look like changed behaviors,
And
if
no.
it doesn't look like what we've said before, active repair, I don't want a part of that. I will
Yeah.
actively repair something with you.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Most of
Yeah.
the time.
Most of the time.
Depends on how
There's
many times.
Yeah, there's always gonna be circumstances where we decide, "I will not engage in this with you anymore."
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And that's better for both of us.
Yes, and we had this conversation, earlier. It's not our responsibility to constantly be teaching other people how to be better humans.
Yeah, not my
That's
job.
not our responsibility in this life. It sounds all nice, like we're just going to give them, but why? Why are you consistently letting somebody actively repeat patterns that
Yeah,
are harmful to you? And why is it your responsibility to teach them to be better? At some point, you have to say, "No, this is active harm
yeah,
to me, and
yeah,
I can no longer tolerate this in my life because it does not it's harmful."
yeah.
Period. End of story. Like, we don't need just like "no" is a complete sentence. It is harmful. No explanation needed.
I don't have to participate in relationships that don't feel good to me.
Right, and I don't owe you an explanation either. If this depending on the relationship, right? Like, if this is a first time occurrence, absolutely, there's an
Yeah,
explanation. How
yeah,
did this hurt? All of those pieces. If
yeah,
this is a repeated pattern and this is a repeated conversation, that is the reason.
yeah. I've
The
often
repetition of harm is the reason. End of
it's
story.
like when you're in a relationship where it's just like this constant cycle of like damage, non-repair, damage, non-repair, damage. So I'm talking about a long-term relationship.
Mhm,
Neither one of us is getting anything out of this.
mhm,
The other person, I guess the difference with me is that I'm not afraid of myself anymore. I'm not afraid of the bad things that I did anymore. I'm actually really happy to be able to say them out loud and take ownership
mhm,
of them. And
mhm,
so I can see where that's intimidating and scary to other people. Maybe someone that hasn't really been in that situation or had that experience or knows how to give themselves forgiveness. And so I need you to make this right because I don't know how to make it right. So I try and have some empathy there. And also, I know you don't feel good about this. There's no way. Especially when it's with someone that I know and I care about and I love. And I think that's the hardest thing when you have to walk away from a relationship of someone that you deeply love. But it's
yeah,
just, I can't do this anymore, man.
yeah,
Something's got to give.
yeah,
Something's got to give. And I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know what it is.
yeah, and it can't be my sanity,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
So forgiveness is tied really closely to boundaries.
Yeah,
And when you don't know how to set boundaries, you end up giving way more forgiveness than is necessary or appropriate, I think,
yeah,
because the
yeah.
discomfort is too much.
Absolutely, and honestly, like, we're conditioned at such an early age to do this, right? Like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
hurt someone, go say you're sorry," right? And
Hmm.
then the other person needs to say, "It's okay," that you
Hmm.
did this, and we literally teach it from a very, very, very young age, and so we grow up thinking that's all it is.
That's all it is the words.
That's all it is just, "Well, they said they were sorry, so we need to forgive that." And as long as we say you're sorry, whether there is a change in behavior or not, we still need to they said that they were sorry. So as much as I was absolutely against this conversation, and believe me, everyone listening, Jaelene can attest, I was
Yeah.
absolutely like, "No, I
Yeah.
don't wanna do this conversation." And she was like, but we really need to. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I really don't want to do this conversation. And she was like, okay, but we really need to. And I said, okay, fine. I'll do this conversation. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
I'm super glad we've had this conversation because honestly, it has taken the power out of that word,
Yes.
right? So, like, forgiveness is no hope that the past is going to be any different.
Hmm.
But the other key piece to this is forgiveness is in the repaired relationship. It's already in there when we have changed behaviors and when we have made active repair,
Yep.
that is that piece.
Yep. One time, you'll like this story. One time, I left marriage counseling and we were in the parking lot and it hadn't gone well. And we had driven there separately. And isn't that isn't that a metaphor? We had gotten there separately. And
Yes.
as we were leaving and I was getting in my car, I screamed at the very top of my lungs, "Sorry means you'll change, motherfucker." And then I got in the car and I left. So,
That is the name of this episode.
sorry means you'll change,
Sorry
motherfucker.
means you'll change. And on that note,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So if you have struggled with the, I would say, outwardly concept of forgiveness and how that applies in your life, take a step back.
Take our hot
Take a
take.
step. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, let this sit a minute and then maybe listen again,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, for
I
sure.
give everyone permission to forgive no one
Yes.
as long as you commit to working on yourself and taking responsibility for what you do,
Yes.
and then revisit forgiveness.
Yes.
Come back to
Yes.
it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I love that. What a fantastic conversation.
I know.
As always, I love you. We'll
I
see you
love you
guys next
too.
time.
Thank you for being here with us today. We are so grateful for you. We will be back next week and we are going to talk about recovery and sobriety, what the difference is, and how we are doing with that.